Yeah, brilliant.
Hello, everybody. It's Frank Norris here. This is the fifth version. I can't believe we've got to number 5. But the fifth version of Frank and Stan Chats. And there's my friend, Mr. Johnson. How are you this morning, Stan?
I'm good this morning. Some exercise right at the beginning of the day. That's what
Really?
works.
What was it this morning?
24-metre lengths of timber arriving about 8 o'clock, and having to move them off the truck and into the back garden. So,
Right. So the bleeper of the reversing truck woke everybody up on your street.
It's only been on the road since 5 this morning.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we've got a theme today. We're going to talk about Stan's favourite subject, that of leadership. We're going to try and steer away, or perhaps we won't be able to avoid it, Stan, getting into the realms of political leadership at the moment. But let's see where it goes. So let's have some ground rules again. Let's remind everybody, we're going to try and be positive. We're not going to slag anyone off. We're certainly going to be honest. We're going to appreciate the difficulties, both politically, nationally, locally, that senior school leaders are facing at the moment. And also, we're very keen to hear that word, aren't we, Stan?
Yeah, the kindness word.
Kindness word. So we're going to try and be reasonably kind, and we hope people be reasonably kind with us. And we're grateful for the comments, the emails I've received. Actually had a phone call with a colleague who watched our last week's and was encouraging us to do even more of these, to keep them going, because she felt as though the tone was right and the things that we were discussing were the sort of relevant issues of the day. So let's just see. I think we were surprised to get past 1.
Yeah.
So now we're on 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So what caught your eye this week, Stan?
It's very difficult without the bringing politics into this.
I know.
But I suppose that the weather, the fact that we're in lockdown, but actually been very fortunate because there hasn't been any really bad weather to keep people trapped inside, keep more people trapped inside. And I think the other thing that's caught my eye is how schools are now trying to get themselves prepared for the safest way to get children in. And I'm hearing different ways and different techniques that schools are using. Still think that must feel very lonely at the moment.
Yeah, I think I think, as you know, 4 of our immediate family are primary school teachers, so they've been in and around schools, obviously, over the last, 10 weeks or so. But they're starting to focus in now on the actual preparation of where do the kids come in, how do we manage it, all of this. So it's starting to feel very real. And I think the discussion, I think the unions have been very helpful in terms of trying to, challenge government, challenge advisors in terms of the risks associated with it. I mean, I find it interesting that some people view, my thought for them, what's caught my eye this week was and I'm not making a political statement now when I say this, but the Prime Minister attending the liaison committee, which is sort of made up of the chairs of the select committees, and obviously he has to put a lot of preparation into that. I've been in similar situations where you have to prepare to be challenged, and actually that preparation and the challenge itself strengthens your decision making, because you have to really think about where are the weaknesses in the decision making, what are the points that I want to put across. I think that the issue for me is, I think, linking it in with the unions, the unions challenging government, challenging schools, challenging senior leaders, has been really, really helpful. That there's nothing wrong in constructive challenge, because I do think it leads to better decision making. So I think that's what caught my eye this week.
Yeah, and I think there's a lead into leadership there, because there is some leadership from local authorities that are just taking that pressure off individual head teachers who have probably wrestled with it, and now somebody's saying, well, actually not yet. and we're taking that decision away from you. Or I saw a really good letter from a diocese virtually saying to the schools, it is your choice, it is your decision, but whatever you make, we'll be right behind you on that. We'll support you. And I thought that was the kind of thing I would need as a head at this point.
Yeah, and again, I think that there are some examples in terms of we must try and link these risks about how we reopen society. You know, not just see them as a school issue. School is part of the unlocking. Yeah. And actually, it's interesting when you see other colleagues who are actually talking in different settings about what is it that they're experiencing. And it was interesting that that the Commons itself wants to reopen next week, but actually has now realised that the voting lobbies are too narrow for you to actually socially distance in that way. You know, so you can have the grandest of ambition, you know, you could and want to do what you can, but actually the reality of these decisions, the practicalities of these decisions come back, don't they? They are at the heart of the decision-making process, regardless of what you want it to be. Yeah, I'd love to be a school that opens on the 1st of June. Really? No, do that if you know you can assure the safety of everybody that's there. And put your hand on your heart and tell every parent that it sends their child in, and every teacher and every mother of a teacher and every father of a teacher, that you can assure their safety. If you can do that, go and do it.
Yeah. Well, Michael Gove says they're safe, so must be okay.
Must be right. Okay. I mean, interesting. That's in terms of leadership. When you go for a senior post, people ask you to describe what sort of leadership you have. You know, and actually, as I've got older, I felt that's a pretty silly question, really.
Yeah.
Actually, I've always seen leadership, and you need a consistency in terms of it can't be something that you're not yourself. You know, no matter how many books and courses you go on, but actually there needs to be a little bit of a toolbox of techniques here. You know, there are times when in leadership you need to be able to demonstrate, you know, clear leadership. This is there. You know, I suppose like the Prime Minister's trying to do at the moment. You know, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's been done. You know, I'm going. This is the path we're following. But there are other approaches, other much more subtle approaches, which need to be part of your toolkit of approach.
Yeah, I think where I sort of divert from some of that thinking is this idea that you can switch, and you can decide, this situation needs me to be like this. I genuinely don't think that exists, but I think there are people who do naturally see the situation and know or have a preference for delivering a certain way forward. And, you know, leadership in a crisis like this is very different from a leadership, you know, and I would expect somebody in this situation to be quite a dominant leader and quite autocratic. This is what we're doing A, B and C, and when we've got to C, we'll rethink. Now, I'm not sure I'm seeing that in our position, but if you look at some of the other countries around the world, and what is odd, and it has brought me attention, is a tweet that somebody put in saying, have you noticed the countries that seem to be doing this better have got female leaders? And you look at Jacinda Ardern and the way she's dealing with it, there's that whole range of leadership qualities, from we're locking down now, not when that's it, to oh yes, the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy are key workers.
I know. I thought that was a masterstroke, really. I mean, it highlights as well, doesn't it, how important, I mean, verbal communication is in terms of how you get people on your side. And I felt that, you know, the way that she drew the children into the issue, didn't she? Without preparing them, reassuring them, and actually wasn't there was a humanity to it. You know, there was a sense of a real mother here who really cares for her children, and she's caring as if she's caring even though we're on the other side of the world, she's really caring for our grandchildren. You know, this is the way to do it, folks. You know.
Yeah, well, I think, from my experience leadership, you buy into the leader first, and then you buy into what they're telling you. And I think from seeing her on a number of occasions after the crisis, after the terrorist attack and everything, that she just got it right for me, and I would put trust in somebody like that.
Yeah, and it's not actually, this is not about men and women though, is it really? Or is it? I mean, for me, the thing is that there are leaders, male or female, who have that sort of ability to connect, and that ability to connect it is something that you can grab fairly quickly. You know, in terms of, often it's the manner, the choice of words, the look. All of this is part of that sign that, you know, here's it. Because in a way, you need that compassion. I mean, I feel as though you still need to show, you know, show some vulnerability. And I think I like the head teachers who, I mean, I was talking to a colleague yesterday who was a senior officer in the army, and I said to him, well, how do you resolve an inexperienced leader? How do you help that inexperienced leader come to terms with the challenges? Well, they said, well, what you do is you put them in, you tell them to go and chat to the sergeant.
Yeah.
They talk to the sergeant. You talk to somebody who is like your deputy, a senior leader who's highly respected. If you're able to do that, and you can actually draw those sorts of people into your decision making, I think that goes a long way, you know, rather than it being dogmatic, I've decided. There's a sense of it coming together.
My experience in various elements of education and local government is that the people who actually know what's going on are those usually that are the lowest paid and the ones that are doing. And if you spend time listening and asking for them for ideas, it feeds you with so much information that you can then respond and you can make good decisions. And it's not always the people that are up there with you at the top. I mean, a classic example is a boss I work for who decided that every single person in the authority should be committed to children. We've all got to really be committed. Now, at the time, I was running an organisation that was doing CPD. It was a marketed service. And I tried to point out to her that my business manager didn't like children at all. But she's a really good business manager.
Yes.
So she doesn't need to be committed to the overall. She just needs to do the best she can in her job to make our service run well. And I think there's a misnomer at times where everybody should be, we're all committed to getting the man on the moon kind of stuff. Actually, we need all to be committed to doing what we do the best we can do it.
Yeah. And I think also it's acknowledging, I think this only comes with time, or perhaps it came to me in time, but it might come to others because they're a different type of person to me, perhaps a better leader. But just acknowledging that where your weaknesses are, actually having time to think, and I found that quite hard when I was younger. You know, I was very, I wasn't very happy with myself to reveal to others that I know absolutely nothing about this. I'm trying to flag my way through it, you know. But I do think that I've more recently working in the co-op Academies Trust and working within the co-op, I've seen the way that colleagues there draw on the expertise in order to help them to leaders. And the head teacher role, sometimes there are some head teachers who don't want to fully embrace that, you know, that as if that it's their power.
I had a very lucky break in headship in that I got angry in the first week because it was something and nothing amongst the staff, but the staff were falling out over something that was trivial. And it was my first week. And I barged into the staff room and I said, you know, look, I'm not working like this and this is not the way I am, but I will make mistakes. And if this is my mistake, it's a mistake. I'm new to this job. I don't know how to do it. And I was angry and I was saying, look, I've not got all the answers, but we're not working in this way. And I came out and went in the office and thought, right, that's me finished. But it was actually the best thing I did, because suddenly the new person in wasn't somebody who was claiming to know all the answers. And I understand my predecessor had definitely been one for divide and conquer. So saying I wasn't going to play that game was a lucky break.
Yes. I think also I've been fortunate that my wife isn't in education at all. And I wouldn't reveal all the detail of stuff, but often she cuts through to the chase straight away. And then you, why didn't I think of that? So I've been very fortunate to have a different type of challenge. I've never felt completely alone. There've been a few times when I worked in Ofsted where I thought, this is getting a bit hairy. I'm not entirely sure about this, but the general day-to-day stuff, where you've had a problem, I found my wife to be very perceptive and very clear about what should happen. I'm always taking it on board, but it's just having somebody with a different angle.
Yeah. Well, of course, we were both in education, so there were times when Jill would ask me something and say, "This is what I've done," and I'd say, "Do you want an advisor answer or do you want a husband answer?" Because one's going to result in no tea.
Yeah. I mean, I think the leadership that's being shown by head teachers at the moment, in terms of releasing the lockdown, presents an interesting style that could, you can imagine how some may want to deliver an outcome of opening because they feel under pressure from others to do that. And there are others who are actually sort of, in a sense, I sort of welcome their taking their time, being assured, being as certain as they can be. It takes me back to I remember HMI saying to me many, many years ago, times in military warfare, time spent on reconnaissance is rarely wasted. This idea that things don't have to happen on the 1st of June, folks. They happen. Engagement with the enemy, in a sense, in a military way, will happen if we can, when we want it to happen, when we're at our strongest, when we are certain about what we're going to do. So I think that's an interesting sort of analogy, really. That perhaps I'm glad to see more head teachers saying this is going to happen when I'm ready and when our governors are ready, for this to happen.
Yeah, I must admit, Frank, that's one of the things that are happening at the moment that are making me feel a bit more secure that we've not gone to this stage that all schools will.
Yes.
And head teachers and leaders in schools are saying when we're ready, and some are saying we'll be ready on the 1st of June. And so be it. Others are saying there might not be time between now and July before we certainly. I mean, I don't know where it's gone from the guidance, whether it's still in there or not. That all year groups in primary will be in a month before the holidays. That's middle of June.
I think that's out the window. I mean, locally, head teachers, the local head teacher here is saying we're having, I think it's reception. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Well,
what we're doing year 6, and when we've got that ready, we'll then bring the next year group in.
Yeah. Well, local school to me have said we've worked out what our capacity is. It's 130 children, so that's all we'll have in until social distancing rules change.
Yeah. Well, by the time we do this next week, Stan, some schools are opened. I think I've enjoyed our chat about leadership. Perhaps next week, should we do the same? Do you have another theme? Take leadership a bit further?
Yeah. Well, what about this guy?
Yeah. I know a guy who who was a senior officer in the army, so he had his Sandhurst training and everything. And there's some interesting he has some interesting stories about leadership, you know, on the battlefield, but also about the philosophy, the theory of military leadership as well. So I wouldn't mind, you know, us giving him an invitation to see if he'd come and join us. So,
because just to finish it, I
yeah.
do think when people talk leadership and great leaders, for some reason they always refer to military leaders.
Yeah,
and actually, we you know, despite what we feel at times, we're not at war that often.
No. And I think
Churchill didn't win another term of office.
no.
So there are leaders for certain situations.
Let's end of the leaders, both that you've known, but national leaders or senior, you know, worldwide leaders. In terms of who is there worldwide and who is there personally that you have, you know, that you have great respect for in terms of what they've demonstrated to you.
Well, that's too hard. I need to think about that for next time.
Let's do that for next week. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say to you now that I have, because of the communication element of it, I think Barack Obama had a certain something with the choice of words and the style and the sort of at times quite relaxed, but also very serious when it needed to be and genuine. And I've respected. So I'll save my personal one till next week.
Right. Okay.
Thank you all for joining us. We're going to pick up leadership part 2 next week. And thank you, Stan. And thank you.
Right. Thanks, Frank.
So
Bye,
if you've got any comments, you know, send them through to us. We're more than happy to hear them. Thank you. Bye.